just dropped my X-Acto knife and it landed on the floor like this, just missing my foot. So yeah, that's always fun when it misses. So what I've done here is I've been sanding and filling in areas, and this is all just drying up right now. There's a nice big blotch on the back that I need to clean up. And then I temporarily glued in the cowling on here. Just a little bit of glue. I can easily just pull it off when I'm done with it to install the engine and stuff like that. So what I want to show is the canopy sections here. There's quite a bit of them. I want to have them open so you can see inside. And I thought what I would do is I would just kind of stack them like this, you know, all against each other and glue them onto the canopy, but they don't quite fit. So what I did first, however, if you recall, I mentioned that the canopy isn't very clean. It's not very transparent. It's kind of got this grainy texture to it. So what I did is I took some Novus 2, and this is a scratch remover, and I just made these little circles in the windows, and it actually cleaned them up quite a bit. It's not perfect. It's not something I'll be able to, I think, get rid of 100%, because a lot of it is like inside the plastic, and you just can't get rid of all of it. So I got rid of most of it. I cleaned up the windows. I'm quite happy with them. And I just wanted to show these maskings and see if they work, if they don't. And so yeah, let's just have a bash at them here. So I think I'm going to start with the front canopy. So far this kit is not going together as wonderfully as I was hoping. Come on. There we go. I have run into quite a few problems. Now the problem with these custom masks, sometimes they don't fit. And so I just really want to see if they fit. And they don't. No, they don't. It's quite a bit. So there's a gap right here. This doesn't add up, and this is over the panel line. Or the frame line, I should say. Okay, so they don't fit. Maybe that was just that one. Let's see here. These tweezers are a little dirty. Let's try another one, just in case. See if it was my fault. So I know in the, I think it's the Hobby Boss. No. Shoot. Their name just left me. Oh, wow. Yeah, this one doesn't even fit. Like, it goes right here. So I lined it up right here. And the other line is right here. So there's a huge gap here by about 3 millimeters. It's not going to fit. Okay. So this means one thing and one thing only. I'm going to have to do this the hard way. So what I'm going to have to do is... I can't even get it off now. Come on. You can do it. Wow, these like really stick on there. Okay, so they don't fit. That means I'm going to have to go back and use Tamiya tape. And what that also means is it's just going to take me a while longer to mask off every little section. So that sucks. But what are you going to do? I could order some from Edward, but then I'd be waiting 2 to 3 weeks, and it's easier if I just mask them off myself. Yeah, it takes a little while longer, but it'll be worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Unfortunately, what can you do? So the kit I was thinking about, I believe it was a Great Wall Hobby, or GWH, Black Widow. I think it's 48 scale, if I remember correctly. Anyways, I saw someone was building it, and he had the whole canopy masked off with these stickers. And they looked very similar to these, except they had numbers on them. And he showed all the errors and stuff that they didn't fit, and I went, poor guy. He did all that work and it doesn't even fit. So it happens. What do you do? That's why I've got Tamiya tape again. So I'm going to go ahead and get working on all of those. So here's all my tape. It's going to take me a while to do, but it will be worth it, and hopefully I'll be able to start airbrushing this thing here pretty quick. Alright, you guys can see I've painted it all silver, put on the canopy, landing gear. This was one of the worst landing gear systems I've ever had the misfortune of putting together. It's just very complicated and very unspecific instructions. It was not as much fun as I was hoping. I'm not actually having as good a time with this model as I had originally thought. I thought this was going to be a pretty easy cakewalk, you know, it wasn't going to be a terrible amount of work. But this model is sure putting up a fight. Don't know if it's just this one, or like I'm hoping that's not like the behavior of all Accurate Miniatures kits, but because I really like these kits and I'd like to get more of them. But just, you know, out of the starting gate, not as much fun. Getting them to fit and whatnot. But anyways, you can see here I painted it all silver, and then I gave it a coat of Future. And so this is where my fun comes in that I really wanted to do with this model, which is why I'm actually doing this project, just kind of like a test for future projects. So I painted the entire thing silver, and what I'm going to do is add on some Microscale micro mask. It's a blue stuff here, and I'm actually going to apply this on the acrylic paint. Now apparently you're not supposed to use masking solvents and stuff like that on acrylic, but I've actually tested this stuff out on acrylic paint several times, and it works pretty well. I haven't had any problems with it peeling on Tamiya tape, or sorry, Tamiya paint. But yeah, you should still test it on a scrap piece of plastic before you do it, just in case. You never know what it's going to do. But like I said, I also added on a layer of Future. So what I want to do is I want to make a chipped effect on this model kit here. So what I want to pay attention to in particular is part of this model, this aircraft was canvas, and mostly it's in the back here. And I cannot remember if the control surfaces were fabric, but I'm gonna bet that they were, and I'm gonna leave them alone, and again leave the fabric alone, because you wouldn't have any chipped areas on fabric, it would be faded. I've got a little bit of sponge here, and I just want to dip it in here. And this is going to take me quite a while to do, but it's going to be, you know, very worth it in the end. And just sponge a bunch of this stuff on here. I could also go and do this with a paintbrush and kind of stipple it on, it would work as well. So, and based on the box art, this is quite a torn up aircraft, so I'm going to pay special attention to the wings, the front of the wings, that is, because that would be the part that would catch the most. I just want this to go kind of everywhere. What I also like too, and that's why I'm dabbing, you know, excess amounts of it off, is I want it to be kind of thin. I don't really want these big areas, you know, these big chipped areas like, you know, that we like to do with a lot of Japanese aircraft. And this will work really well for Japanese aircraft. In fact, if this works out as well as it did on my test sample, I'm definitely going to buy another big scale Tamiya 0 and do the same thing, because the 0 I want, there's two big zeros that I want to build, and one of them is very weary looking. So when you're doing this type of thing, guys, pay attention to where on the model, on the aircraft, it's going to be weathered. You know, what part of the model is going to have the most impact? Well, definitely the front surfaces, like the wing tips, or the wing edges would have a lot of damage done on them. Front of the cowling would have a lot of, chip areas, because this is where all the air is coming out and hitting it first. Along the tail line here, in the back here, that would definitely have it. In parts of the canopy, parts where they would be walking a lot, parts that would move, like the wings fold. So on the underside, that would be a part where they would probably be pushing it or maintaining it and things like that. There's little steps here. Those would be fairly worn out. There's a little bit of a walkway right here. So again, just keep that in mind when you're doing it. And remember, do a little bit at a time, because it's easy to do just a little bit and go, okay, I'm done. But it's a lot harder to just go and then go, oops, I think I did too much, and then you have to kind of start all over. So just do a little bit at a time. It's more tedious, I understand that, but it's much more worthwhile in the end. So what I'm going to do is go and finish doing the whole model. Like I said, I'm adding a lot of this stuff all over the place because I really want it to be a very worn out Vindicator, as I showed from the box art. So it's going to take me a while to do this, but it's definitely going to be fun, and I'm crossing my fingers for the best in the end. So really want this to work out as well as my test sample did. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and finish doing this. It's going to take me quite a while to accomplish. So, but it looks pretty good. Again, it's just a simple bit of sponge and a little bit of this masking agent. So
it's never a real day of airbrushing unless your hands are just completely covered in paint. You should have actually seen, I should have recorded that when I painted on the silver. Anyways, guys, I painted on the gray and I painted on the blue. You can see it all here. Quite happy with this blue. Blue is XF18 medium blue, Tamiya again. The gray is XF19 sky gray. You can see right here. I brought that out because I needed to do a touch up. I made a little error here. Just needs to be a quick little psst, and I should be good to go. So, so you can see here it's all painted in this nice blue. You can see like kind of these scabby areas on it, and those are going to be removed later. But as for right now, my focus is on the blue. I want to get the blue, and what I did on the gray here, I made some nice weathering patches on here. I'm quite happy with those, and I'm going to do the same thing with the blue. So what I've done is I've loaded up my airbrush. Whoops. Loaded up my airbrush with the same what was this, medium blue, the XF18, and I added a couple drops of black. Not a lot. I just want it to be very, very subtle on here. And now what I've gone and done is taken it and made it very, very thin. My thought process behind this is I want to create some faded and darkened panels and stuff like that. It's kind of a post shading, pre-shading is where you paint all the panel lines and then you apply the coat. Yeah, this is kind of like a post shading. But I've got an actual good tool here with me this time. This is the Tamiya air control valve. This is a really, really cool little device. You can see there, it's invisible. Actually, it's right here. And it's, let me just move this out of the way here. I've attached it onto my airbrush already, so it fits on here like this. And it just has a simple little dial on here. And you just turn it, and this releases air. It actually shoots air out the bottom here, and this keeps it in here. So I'm actually going to have this out quite a bit. I'm going to play around with the air pressure to see where I like it, because I want very, very soft lines on here. This is a really handy little tool. I didn't think it was going to be this small. It's very, very small, and fits perfectly, again, perfectly on an Iwata airbrush. If you don't have an Iwata airbrush, you might have to look for some kind of adapter. I bought this in mind of needing an adapter, but in the end of it all, I was really surprised that I actually didn't need one. So, again, that was a good surprise. Whoops. You know what we should do here? really put the cap on here. In fact, I'm actually going to move the paint stand out of the way because, like I just said, it's in the way. And I'm going to get painting here. So I'm just going to keep this little piece of paper here on the side. That way I can just spray off anything that I need. And again, I'm just going to try and do this as best I can. This is going to be very hard for me to get into the camera shot because it's kind of, I need to be very, very close to it. So I apologize if I don't quite get this in the shot, but hopefully by the end of it you'll see the result that I'm talking about. So first off here, let's get going with the darker paint here. Alright guys, this is the part where I show you guys the happy accident I discovered. And again, it was just me messing around, and I figured out how this worked, and pretty excited that it actually did work. So what I'm going to show you guys here right now is, again, something really cool that I was, this is the reason why I delayed working on this particular model for so long. And now that I figured out how to do it, I'm really excited because I can just get back at it. So the question is, how do I remove all the masking agent? I have these really nice tweezers here. I could spend time picking them out, but again, a bunch of them are hidden underneath the paint, and so this is what I tried. This is exactly what happened. So I'm just going to show you guys right here. This is just a test piece of plastic that I keep for whatever I'm working on. I usually just test paint colors and stuff on it. It's just a scrap piece of Halifax nose. So what I wanted to do is see how salt weathering worked with acrylic paints, and so I tried it, and it didn't exactly work that well. It bleached it. It actually looks pretty nice, but it bleached the color in some areas. So I tried the masking solution, but what ended up happening was when I airbrushed the brown over top, I couldn't see it anymore. So I was left with this decision of what do I do? So I went to my micro mesh sanding papers, and this is a 3600 grit here. Whoops. There we go. And I just decided to try wet sanding it. So I got a bowl just off the screen here, and I'm just going to show you guys this so you can see I already did it right here. You can see how fantastic that looks already. So I'm just going to go over these areas here, and I'm just going to slowly sand it in a circle. If I need to, add more water, because I'd rather not have tension and accidentally damage my paint. But there you go. I might swap this to a 3200. I can't remember which grit I used. I think I did use 3200. Oh, there's some brown paint on there, on the back. I must have used this one then. Let's have a bash, eh? Ah, there we go. Now it's really coming out. Look at that. So just slowly. Again, not a lot of pressure is needed on this. You really, really, really don't need to press on here to get it off. It's just basically moving it around. Let this stuff do it on its own. But look at that. Isn't that fantastic? That just, to me, looks absolutely incredible. So again, this is just 3200 grit micro mesh. So here you can see a bunch that I smeared it on the edge of the wing there. Here, let's wet this down more. And again, yeah, keep it wet, because you don't want to scratch off your original finish. Look at that. That's so cool.
And so, there you go. That is my chipped effect. And I can feel areas where it still is. I can see some areas, like there's a bit right here. Problem with peeling it off yourself, which you can do. You really can do it. But the problem with that is it needs to be thick. So you kind of need to do 2 layers. That's hard to do when you're making a chipped effect. And again, when you're using like something like tweezers and you're peeling it off, you really run a higher risk and chance of scratching the silver paint underneath. But this, to me, this is that nice battle-weary effect that I was going for. It might be a little exaggerated, you know, in some of the areas here, but I'm not really going to complain too much about it. This is kind of, again, a test subject before I move on to bigger projects, and something I really wanted to try for this model. So that's it. And the other thing that I'm going to do is to take something of a lighter grit. Maybe I've got a 4,000, maybe like an 8,000 grit, and what I'm going to do is sand. It's just sanding, but again, very little pressure. I'm going to sand this way on the model, and what it's going to do is it's going to highlight all the ribs. They're going to be a lighter shade of blue or a lighter shade of gray, and that way they'll just pop out a little bit more. So that's what I'm going to go do here. It's going to take me quite a while to get all this done. There's a lot of stuff to clean up, but I'm pretty darn excited about this. I think this looks pretty awesome. So this is the whole, this right here is the whole reason why I'm building this project, and so far I'm loving it. So I'm going to go ahead and do some more.